Spring high school sports are in full swing here and across the state, but the governing body is already looking ahead to some new rules for the fall for high school sports. Joining us now to talk about them, NYSSFA Executive Director Dr. Robert Zayas. Dr. Z, good to see you. Thanks for joining us again.
Thanks for having me on.
One of the first things that jumped out to me that I saw is a new spectator sportsmanship regulation. And we know there are unruly fans, not everybody, but there are instances of it. How is this going to work at the scholastic level in New York State now?
Yeah, we just have found that in an effort to be proactive, we really need to have set guidelines for appropriate behavior for fans and spectators when they attend a high school sporting event.
So does it set some sort of, I guess, protocol for punishment or something like that if something goes wrong, or is it simply, let's show up and be appropriate, adults and fans?
Yeah, unfortunately, and I say unfortunately because we've gotten to the point that we do have protocol now in place as a result of last week's decision of our executive committee. Essentially, if a fan is acting unruly, then the site supervisor or athletic administrator has the opportunity to go up and give that fan a warning that that type of behavior is not acceptable. Unfortunately, if the behavior continues, then the fan would be asked to leave. Based upon when the fan is asked to leave, they would be disqualified or prohibited from attending the next sporting event unless they decide to go online and, in conjunction with our national organization, take a parenting behavior or a spectator behavior course that's free of charge and takes about 20 minutes.
Does this go far enough, or is this the starting point? I mean, how did we land at that point where you get, basically three strikes before you're out and then you miss a game or you take the course?
We've been talking about adding some type of regulation similar to what we have for coaches and student athletes and applying that same type of criteria or standard to spectators. I think we've gotten to a point where when fans single themselves out, then they too need to be singled out.
I know that that's the NYSSFA rule, obviously. Is there discretion for, say, referees or districts themselves to say, on first go around, you're gone and you miss the remainder of the season or something like that? Or is this kind of the ground level for everybody?
Well, and in the policy that was approved last week and that will take effect starting in the fall, it does say that it doesn't have to be done in any kind of a sequential order, meaning that if a fan is using derogatory or discriminatory or harassment language or does something that rises to the level of completely unacceptable, then that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be given a warning. At that point in time, the site administrator can just disqualify them, eject them from the facility, and play would stop until that individual actually leaves.
Okay. Since you brought it up, the other issue that kind of caught my attention, sportsmanship, and especially like derogatory, racist kind of language. I know that's going to be dealt with more in July, I assume to be in place for the fall as well. What is going on there? What are you working on specifically?
Yeah, our newly formed Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee has brought 4 proposals forward for consideration of the membership. And one of those proposals is to really start focusing on if there is language that's harassment or racial or derogatory, discriminatory in any form or fashion, that language or that type of behavior needs to be addressed immediately. Obviously, we all know that type of behavior is not appropriate, but to have it in our handbook reinforces the fact the state association and our member schools are not going to tolerate any type of language or harassment behavior of any form or fashion.
And I assume part of the discussion this summer will be some sort of penalties or something like that if that happens. And I assume it's for everybody. It's for coaches, players, fans, everybody that would be part of a scholastic sporting event?
Most certainly. That type of behavior is not going to be tolerated, and we want to make sure that we're able to reinforce that and really make sure that our fans, our coaches, and our student athletes understand that there is a certain way to behave, and having any kind of derogatory or discriminatory language associated with high school sports is just not going to be accepted.
Dr. Zayas, thanks so much for your time. Have an awesome rest of this spring season here and certainly through the championships as well.
You as well, and thanks again for the opportunity.